Alright, so you guys might hear me make mistakes or stutter, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, here we go. Chapter 1. I opened my eyes and gasped for air. I was in a hospital bed. I felt the top of my head and noticed that I had bandages on. I didn't know why I was here. I sat there and tried to think about what happened on the day before I got here. Flashback. I remember waking up that morning. I went to the temple that my grandpa owned, where he taught karate to his students. I would go there every day to watch his students practice. There were more than 100 students there. I could hear my grandpa giving them instructions. Since I was 8 years old, I couldn't be in the class. I sat on the bench and watched. "Everyone, are you ready?" I heard my grandpa yell. "Yes, sir," the entire class responded. "Left punch," my grandpa yelled. The entire class punched left as grandpa instructed. As I sat there and watched, I looked at the entrance door and saw someone was peeking inside the temple. It was Naroda, my grandpa's only son, and he also was my stepbrother. He had gotten here late today. As Naroda stepped to sneak in quietly, he heard Grandpa's voice. "Naroda, you're late. You'll be cleaning the temple floors today," Grandpa told him. "Right. Sorry, Master," Naroda responded nervously as he got in line. I watched them practice for 3 more hours. "All right, everyone, take a break," Grandpa told the class. Grandpa walked over to me as I sat on the bench. "Mitsuki, I trust you haven't been here long. How about some tea?" he asked. I smiled as he mentioned the tea. He came out of the small kitchen with a hot cup. "I thought I told you to stay at the house," he told me. "But it's boring. I want to watch. Please, Grandpa," I begged. "I suppose it's all right, but when the class is in session, I can't attend to you," he told me. "That's okay. I just want to watch them train," I said. "Just remember to stay here. It's dangerous out there." I nodded my head in agreement, and Grandpa stood up and went back towards the class. "We'll be starting sparring sessions. Naroda, help the first years practice," he told Naroda. "Yes, sir," Naroda replied. After the sparring sessions, Naroda walked over to me. Hey, Mitsuki, came to watch us again?" "Yes, I want to learn too," I said. "Don't worry, you'll be in our class next year." "I'll train hard and be better than you, Naroda," I said. "I'm sure you will," he said, laughing, as he got closer to me. "I'll talk to Dad about letting you join our class early, okay?" "Really? Thank you," I said excitedly. End of flashback. I tried to go further into my memories, but it felt empty. In that moment, a nurse walked in and saw me. Her expression seemed concerned. "You're awake," she said. She ran out of the room quickly, and I could hear her yelling for the doctor and telling him that I had woken up. A few seconds later, a doctor walked in. "Tell me, is there anything that you want?" he said politely. He looked shaken as well. I tried to speak, but no words came out. Why can't I talk? No sound is coming out, I thought to myself. Suddenly I felt hot tears roll down my face without any reason. Why am I crying? I thought to myself. "It's okay if you can't talk. Can you remember anything?" he said. I shook my head no. "I see. Don't rush it all at once. You'll return to normal. But it might take a while," the doctor told me. Someone walked into the room in that moment. It was Keiko. She was my best friend, and was also a year older than me. "Mitsuki, you're coming home with us. My parents said that you'll be at our house," she told me. I smiled as I was happy to see someone I recognized. "Let me speak to your parents," the doctor said as he left the room. I went to Keiko and her parents, and then we went to their house. Keiko's mom looked at me as I sat in Keiko's room. "Mitsuki, you'll be sleeping in Keiko's room. If you need anything, tell us," she said. She suddenly remembered that I couldn't talk. "Just write it down on this," she said, handing me a journal and a pencil. I nodded yes and bowed to thank her for letting me stay. "Good night," she said warmly. I had been at the house for 3 days now, and I still couldn't speak or remember anything. As I went to sleep at night, I slipped into a strange dream. In the dream, I saw 2 shadowy figures fighting. I sat there watching them. I wasn't able to move. One of the figures punched the other in the stomach. His arm went through him, and blood splattered on me. After that, the dream switched. I saw myself next to a shadowy figure that was lying on the ground. He reached his hand out to me. He gave me a small rectangular white box. As I put the box in my pocket, I heard a voice. "After 5 years of training," the voice said. The dream faded as I heard Keiko call my name. I woke up gasping for air. "Are you okay?" she asked. I sat there silently. "You were crying in your sleep," she said. "Was it a bad dream?" she asked. She hugged me as tears fell from my face. The next day, Keiko and I went to the kitchen. I watched her eat. "I have to go to school. Will you be okay by yourself?" she asked. I nodded yes. "My mom called the school. They said that you could take a few months off from school until you're better." "I'll be back later," she told me. When Keiko left, I tried to think about my dream that I'd forgotten. As I walked outside, I suddenly remembered a small piece of my dream. That place in my dream. It was the temple. "I have to see it," I said to myself as I started running. As I got to the temple, I saw a horrible image. The temple was gone. All that remained were ashes of the entire temple and its buildings. Suddenly, I felt a pain in my head. It hurt so much that I couldn't control it. I saw another piece of my dream. I saw a shadow giving me a small box. After 5 years of training, I heard the voice say. As it died in the dream, my head finally stopped, as more memories flooded into my mind. I remembered putting the present in my pocket, and then yelling out a name with tears in my eyes. In the dream, I couldn't hear what I had said. As it faded, I suddenly began to cry, as I assumed that the name I yelled was Naroda. I cried in pain, as I assumed that the worst thing had happened to him and my grandpa. I fell to my knees in agonizing pain, and I suddenly saw an illusion of the temple burning. The flames came from the temple and then surrounded me. "They're dead. I'm alone," I said to myself as tears fell endlessly. My consciousness began to fade. I could hear a small sound as my body started to go numb. "Mitsuki!" I heard Keiko yell. "Keiko," I said weakly as my consciousness fell and kept fading. I heard my name being yelled louder and even louder, and I suddenly woke up from my sudden traumatic trance. I was still on my knees, and the temple in front of me was pure ashes and rubble. "Keiko?" I said, staring at her tear-filled eyes. "It's okay, come on," she said, "let's go." As she grabbed my hand tightly, we ran back to Keiko's house. For the next 3 days, we hadn't talked to each other. One morning, Keiko finally talked to me. 3 days later. "Mitsuki, Mitsuki, Mitsuki," she called as she shook me. I replied, still wanting to sleep. "It's been 3 days and you still haven't eaten, so..." "I'm not hungry," I wrote on a piece of paper and gave it to her. I heard the paper drop, and I could feel Keiko's anger. "I said, you're going to eat right now!" she yelled. "Keiko, stop yelling. I'll eat, I promise." I stopped as I finally heard my own voice for the first time in days. "You talked," Keiko said happily. We went downstairs and I made some cereal. I ate it slowly. "Are you okay?" Keiko asked. "Yes." "What's wrong?" I asked back. "You haven't eaten or slept since you went to the temple," she told me. "You're right. I've just been worried, but I'm fine now," I said, trying to assure her. "What happened back there? Your eyes were completely gray and were going blank. A couple more seconds and you would have..." She suddenly cut herself off, as she couldn't bring herself to finish her sentence. "I'm fine now." "No, I'm not." "Keiko, what happened to them?" "To Naroda and Grandpa?" I asked. "I don't know," she said quietly and quickly. "You're lying. I know you are," I said angrily. "I can't say," she said in an angry tone. "Why not?" I said in a sad tone. "Because I was told not to. It's too soon," she said seriously. "Keiko, you're my best friend. I'm so confused. I've been confused ever since I got out of the hospital. Help me. Please. Tell me the truth, I begged, waiting for the answers to why I lost my memories. Keiko's fist shook as she tightened her hands. In a fire, she said. A fire? I repeated. From what I heard, someone started a fire that spread instantly. Your grandpa and Naruto went and got everyone else out, but you were nowhere, so they kept looking. When they found you, you were unconscious from the smoke. So they tried to get you out of the temple. And the temple crumbled and fell on them both. They managed to barely get you out, but they died. And we heard you were in the hospital, she told me. Thanks, Keiko, I said, holding back tears. Yeah. Just don't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom that I told you, she said, crying, as her hair covered her eyes. We sat there and cried for a few hours. End of chapter 1. Anyways, guys, tell me what you think of how I did here, and if you guys want to hear more, please leave a like, or if you want to make sure that I know that you guys want me to continue, leave a comment. That will definitely get the message across to me. And this was actually not that bad, as far as I know. Anyway, see you.